we've always had the doors open to people, and this idea of open source, Brandon, Beta, I mean, yeah, they kind of come, we've appropriated them from, you know, the software world, but they're really relevant because I think they really describe the way we think and act. And you know, you can't know it all. I mean, that's just I just go back to that. I can't be the expert of all things. Neither can, you know, my peer group in management. We can't be the expert.
You know, I remember also when I first started, they said that, you know, whether you're Kanye, Stan, an athlete, a designer, we see you guys all as the same. You guys are creators. The label that the industry knows you on comes secondary, and that really stuck with me. And again, you know, it just kind of it rang a bell in my head, you know, and it really resonated. And as I started thinking about, you know, my beginnings and kind of, you know, when I left school and decided that, you know, okay, well, you know, I could see in 3 years if I continued, you know, it's about building up your senior thesis. It's about kind of flexing your creative muscle. But what void does that fill? Where does your point of view slot into the creative landscape of the industry? And that was something that really intrigued me and kind of provoked me and essentially pushed me to say, okay, you know what? I want to start my own line and kind of think about, you know, the whole spectrum. And so again, you know, trying to be solution-oriented and finding the right way to express my creativity, but through something that I could actually touch people with, and that I felt, you know, and reach the audience that I was essentially trying to, you know, attract. So
Adidas is comfortable with this idea of work in progress, and I think Alex's story is just like a perfect example of it. Something happened, it wasn't planned, but it's picked up as an idea and is acknowledged as an idea by the organization. And last year, we, you know, as part of this 3 Stripes campaign that we just described, we came to the 3rd iteration and we talked about, talking about courage. We realized how Originals, a part of Adidas, was so courageous to actually take on its own name and kind of strike through with 3 stripes the name of the brand itself, and in a way challenge what originality means today. When the company started, originality meant one thing, and today, originality means something else. And so to Paul's inspiration of, you know, Adidas being a company that's never finished, we wanted to sort of like share this philosophy and inspire a younger generation of creators.
So as far as we're concerned, you know, we're a soup and soap company. We're everyday products, and we keep very arm's length away from politics. What we want to do is engage with people. So I know there was conversations going on about, you know, have we you know, lost focus on Middle America or across Europe or into Asia and Africa, etc. We only succeed if we engage with everyone, and we very much want to understand where people are and how they are changing. And there is changes going on. We're one of the largest commissioners of market research. And in that, we actually do see greater polarization going on in the world. And then what we want to make sure is that our brands are very relevant to that. So I think, you know, if we lose connection with that, then we lose our business. It's as simple as that. So in understanding that, we're very much interested in trying to find out which brands can position against different areas. So you're not going to get everyone to engage in everything. And so, you know, in ice cream, we're the largest ice cream company in the world. Yes, we have Ben & Jerry's and Talenti, but we also have Walls and Magnums and Cornettos, and in the US, Breyers and Good Humor, etc. So I think what we're going to do increasingly is to understand these different groups of people and engage with them in the way they want to engage with. At the end of the day, it's like a person. It's a conversation. Mm-hmm. And there are people you get on with and are friendly with, and people you don't, and you want the brands to be someone you get on with.
So you have different flavors for different audiences. And does technology help you get those messages to the intended audiences, so that if you're a good humor sort of mainstream person, you'll see a very different experience than a Ben & Jerry's consumer?
So we're increasingly trying to do this, and let's be clear, this is not easy now at scale, but we've got lots of experiments of actually tailoring creative to different people.
Of course not. Why do we need labels about our sexuality or about anything else? And I only keep going on about being gay, and I'm gay, I'm gay, I'm gay, because for years people pointed at me and said, you're queer, you're abnormal, you're second rate. No, I'm not, I'm gay. If you don't give people negativity, they won't need to have labels at all. And that's the future. And I think that's a nice complication for people who are worrying and thinking about branding to puzzle over. I mean, is your brand going to be popular with everybody, 100%? Or are you going after 50%? Or are you going to particular? What is this grouping? When the next generation doesn't want to be in a group. Or perhaps they want to be in your group.
It's so interesting because we spend so much of our time talking about segmenting and targeting and labeling. And really, I think the next generation is resisting that massively.
I was outed at school and beaten up regularly by the Afrikaans bullies after that. And the problem was I had no out positive gay role models whom I could look up to in any medium. The boys around me wanted to be Luke Skywalker or Magnum P.I. And then I turned on the telly one day, and there was Boy George, at which point my life pretty much changed forever. I finally had a hero, and his poster was above my bed for many years after that. And then 20 years later in London, I met George and became a friend of his. And I said to him, "You once saved my life." And he gave me advice I've never forgotten. He said, "You have to do the same thing with your own work. Somewhere there'll be a 13-year-old boy who will be alone and depressed, and he'll turn on his TV and see something you've made, and it'll make him feel recognized and valid." He said, "That's the point of art. It can genuinely save a life." So I do believe there is a lot more we can and should be doing. If you can imagine, as I do, a world where the next action hero has a boyfriend, or the next superhero is transsexual, I think we have so much good work we can and should be doing to give young people role models they can relate to and aspire to be.
Come up with the title, and were there other titles that you thought about for the show?
Oh, that was put on us. We hated it.
We had Mission Uncomfortable.
Mission Uncomfortable was the name of it, yeah. Sal thought it was a joke when he got the email and they were going to name it Impractical Joke.
No, you get an email. I have it on video. Oh. The day Sal found out I had my video camera, and he broke down physically, mentally. He's like, "A practical joke." He goes, "They better not put a Corchester thing on there." And the first key art we got back had a Corchester thing on it. It was great.
I'll tell you what, the name was actually genius because, in retrospect, because it brands us rather than the idea of the show. Right. So we then, you don't go to see Mission Uncomfortable on tour. You see Impractical Joker. You see the Jokers on tour.
Yeah, it was hard to envision the success of the show and that it would be an eponymous name like that.
Yes.
Like using that word.
Wow. Here's the problem, though. The word impractical does not translate in many languages. So when the show plays around the world, they have to change the name of the show. So, like, for example, in Holland, the show is called De Fuckers, which means the fuckers. And in Belgium, it's called Furte Vrierden, which means four dicks.
Four dicks, yeah.
No joke. No joke.
Well, I mean, yes. And we've come to, the name is like, the name's, now we don't even think about it.
No,
right?
we're loving it.
But I didn't want to be, I thought it was, at first I thought it was a little corny.
So it was Impractical.
The Jokers, And if I'm just being honest, I thought it was a real piece of shit name. But I love it now. I actually love it. And I actually, we shorten it to IJ now because who has enough time?
Yeah.
Just like your smartphone, even though it's billions of times more powerful per dollar than the computer I used when I was an undergraduate, it can make itself more intelligent a millionfold again by connecting to 1 million computers in the cloud. So a girl in Africa with her $50 smartphone can access all of human knowledge because her smartphone is connected wirelessly to the cloud. We can't do that directly from our brains yet. We do it indirectly through these devices. The devices are getting closer to us. They ultimately will be inside our bodies and brains. And the purpose of this will not just be to access information services like search and translation and encyclopedias wirelessly, but to actually extend the range and depth of our neocortex. We will connect the top layer of our neocortex to synthetic neocortex in the cloud. And so just the way your smartphone makes itself smarter wirelessly by connecting to the cloud, will do that directly from our brains.